Bismarck Swangin is with Unicef in Yemen. If you'd like to support Unicef's work there, they would be very grateful, of course. He says the bus bombing is just one example of a catastrophic war that has killed many thousands of people directly and indirectly. Infrastructure has been destroyed, meaning water and sanitation services simply don't exist in some areas. Starvation has become brutally common, and 2 years ago, UNICEF estimated a child was dying every 10 minutes from preventable diseases such as diarrhoea, malnutrition and respiratory tract infections. So the bus bombing may at last force the world to look at what's happening there. I spoke to Bismarck just before we came on air, and he told me what he's heard from the UNICEF workers who've been at the scene.
Our teams were on the ground. They reported very chaotic scenes following the attack because a number of injured children were rushed to the nearby health facilities. There were also dead children who were being carried away by either relatives or people from the vicinity of the attack who were frantically trying to basically do what they could do at the moment. So the scenes were extremely very chaotic. It was very difficult to speak to any of the survivors to get a clear picture of exactly what happened. And so that is the latest that we have from our teams, who continue to be on the ground and try to get more details. So at this stage, even if the attack took place yesterday, up to this stage, we have not been able to get a full picture of what exactly happened. But what we know is that this was a truck which was carrying children. It is completely shredded, and you can only see a bit of the metal frame. So it speaks of the scale of the attack.
Bismarck, you were there with UNICEF. Is there a sense of desperation now? Is there a sense also, because the government is backed by this coalition, the coalition is Saudi-led, and the West, as we know, from 9/11 onwards, just doesn't really want to confront Saudi Arabia with any of its ills. And so is there a sense of anger, of frustration, of fury, potentially, that incidents like this will just go unpunished and almost at some meaningful level ignored?
This is a man-made humanitarian crisis, and the solution is simple. And it is possible, I believe, to solve this crisis, is to end the war. And so it is really upon the parties to see that there is no sense at all in fighting a war in which children are being killed, in fighting a war which is far expensive than peace. And I believe that the international community has a responsibility to prevail on the parties in this conflict. It is not only Yemenis who are suffering. It is the entire world that is suffering. And so the international community cannot be complacent. They have an influence on these parties, and the ultimate solution is to end the conflict. It is outrageous for innocent people, for children to continue to be attacked. Now, following the events of yesterday, if children are not killed in this conflict, those who survive then to face the challenges of lack of access to the basics of life. Families have been forced into destitution. They cannot find food for their children. Access to clean water has been severely disrupted because families have either been displaced or water infrastructure, like it happened a few weeks ago, are being attacked, and therefore cutting off populations from accessing clean water. Civil servants across the country have not been paid for more than 2 years now. So as a result, the health system is collapsing. The water and sanitation networks are not being maintained, and that's why you see sewage overflowing. Sanitation is extremely poor because the streets are littered with garbage, and this has only created the perfect storm for a public health crisis like we saw last year, one of the world's biggest outbreak of cholera.
Bismarck Swangin, who is with UNICEF.